Hello YouTube, welcome back. This time I'm going to discuss how to change out the rear brakes and rotors on the 2010 SRT8 Dodge Challenger. This is again fairly universal for all makes and models. Doing rear brakes is a completely different animal than doing front brakes, because now instead of just dealing with one type of brake in your caliper, now you're going to be dealing with two types of brakes in your caliper, or two types of brakes. Because you're going to have your caliper, which grabs onto your rotor, and then on the inside you have your parking brake, which is a drum and shoe system. So there's going to be another set of brakes inside of the drum itself on the back rotor, and those shoes expand and contract based on whether or not you have your parking brake applied. Again, your first order of business is to go ahead and break loose the nuts that are on your tire. Once again, anytime you're doing backyard maintenance, there's always an inherent risk of injury, ground shifting or something going wrong that could cause injury. So perform at your own risk. Just break your nuts free. The one thing that you want to ensure when you're doing this is make sure that your parking brake is off, but your vehicle is still in park. One safety consideration that you want to do is, because you have to do this with your parking brake shut off, is you want to make sure that you have a ramp or a chalk block or something stuck between the wheels to keep the vehicle from rolling left or right. In my case, I'm using a Rhino ramp on the front of the car, stuck under the front wheel, because we do have a slight decline on the hill, to make sure that this doesn't roll or go anywhere. I also keep the vehicle in gear. The left rear tire should still stay in place, because I'm only going to do one wheel at a time. Locate your lift point on the back end of the vehicle. Again, should be up underneath. Find your plastic molding. There should be a gap in the plastic molding. Up underside, you'll feel a little cutout that leads up to the frame. Position your jack underneath that little cutout. Make sure you're again using the appropriate jack. This one's rated at 2 1/4 tons, which is more than enough for this vehicle. And lift your vehicle. Make sure that you get actually inside of the groove, a little bit outside there. Now we're actually in the appropriate place. Now you want to lift your vehicle to a height where you can work with it. Alright, you want to take the remainder of your nuts off. Place your bolts in a place where you're going to, your nuts, where you're going to find them. I like to use the lid of my toolbox. Once again, after years of brake dust and corrosion, you could end up having your wheel rust welded onto the rotor itself. You grab onto your top end of your tire, give it a good shot on the bottom, it should break loose. Now you have your rotor, your caliper, and your brake pads exposed. You're once again going to go get yourself a punch pin and a hammer. You're going to knock out your 2 pins over here on the far side of the rotor itself to get those initiated. If you need to see a close-up, you can always change over to the other video. Just want to get them enough to get them started. Once you have your pins worked a little bit out, you're going to switch over to your socket and wrench. Make sure you twist it in the correct direction. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. You're going to come into the back end of the wheel where your 2 bolts that hold your caliper on. You're going to remove those bolts. Now I have an extension because I have one of my control arms blocks the bolt, so I got to get out and away from it in order to get on it. And you can switch to whichever tool you need to get the rest of the job done. If you can get them out with your fingers, twist them the rest of the way out. Alright, I now have it loosened and the bolts are detached from the back end. You'll notice I didn't fully remove the second bolt. Again, there's a control arm right here that the bolt is hitting against, so I can't remove it completely from its slot. But it's enough that the caliper is at least free moving. I'm going to get myself a large screwdriver or pry bar, slide into the top of the rotor underneath the top of the caliper, and just pop it loose. Once I have it loose, then I can continue to work on knocking out my push pins. And this one just doesn't want to come out, so what we'll do is we'll cut off here and I'll pick up on a part 2 for once I get this thing to break free, because I might have to cut it out.